Hello and welcome to Retrotainment. Back here with my co-host, capital C, capital O, Greg. How are you doing, buddy?
What's happening, homie?
Nothing much. We continue on with our Halloween films. This one is probably the biggest in terms of
Horror that we've done this
being
month.
being an actual horror.
Yeah.
In terms of being a big film, it's definitely not the biggest that we've done even this month. It's got the biggest franchise though, maybe.
In terms of amount of movies, no.
From this month that we've done, what?
Oh, from this month, sorry,
Yeah,
yeah.
from this month, it's probably the biggest.
Probably the only one, is it?
I suppose the Addams Family technically has a franchise behind it, which is probably bigger than this one.
No, there's only the two cartoons. There's
The whole TV series as well,
Oh,
though.
well, yeah,
Like if
yeah.
you're
You'd
talking
forget
about
that, wouldn't you? Well, you
Yeah.
wouldn't because it's class, but
Yeah, no.
very easy to overlook it. But yeah, it'd be close.
In terms of just films, I think this is the one with the biggest.
Well, this one has sort of a story that kind of rehashes itself, but
yeah, it's the same story each time, really, isn't it? You know, it's for those who don't know, it's Final Destination.
Some of the greatest acting you'll ever see in your life.
Yeah, not like in all honesty, it's not a great series of films. Any of the films aren't none of the films are particularly good.
They're enjoyable though.
I enjoyed them. A lot of people don't like them. I enjoy it and I like the concept, but it is very, simplistic as well.
But like these movies came out, like in terms of horror, there's 90% of horror movies people aren't gonna like. You know what I mean? 90% of horror films aren't good, but people will enjoy them.
Yeah, exactly. And this is kind of similar to your Wrong Turn thing.
Yeah, I'd say episode.
I'd say Wrong Turn, the original Wrong Turn, is probably better than any of these.
Yeah, the original
Final Destination films, anyway. But came out on the 17th of March in 2000, so you're talking just pre-summer. Yeah, very strange day for it to come out. Don't know what this has got to do with Paddy's Day, but pre-summer blockbuster. So they were obviously,
I think they were trying to catch the
off
spring
season
break or whatever.
Yeah, well, this is kind of the off season. There doesn't tend to be a whole lot coming out in the January, February, March sort of area. So
yeah,
if you're not sure about a film and you think, well, I could do well or it might not do, like get it out here and then see how it goes.
You're gonna see that now in January with the likes of Scream and all coming out. There's a difference in the timeline now where people aren't just associating horror coming out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Summer. Like now there's certain months that blockbusters come out. So you have your winter blockbusters, and you have your spring, summer.
Yeah, exactly. This, I think they were just they weren't sure how well they would do if they came out around Halloween time or came out around summer.
I think there was a lot of problems in terms of getting the time to get this out. Obviously, being a plane crash and people going away in the summer and all didn't really want to be running that.
You wouldn't want to be running it then.
We've seen the impact Jaws had on people going to the beach when that came out.
Exactly, yeah. So they probably did think about that when they were releasing it. In terms of ratings, 35% from 96 critics, which I think is probably a little bit low.
I'd say like it didn't age well at all.
No, it doesn't age well. I probably would have put it in the 45s or so. I don't think it's that bad.
It's a very enjoyable, but as you said, time and time again, a lot of those are probably, I don't really like horrors. I don't like the concept of this. That's fine. You don't like the concept, that's fine. Doesn't mean it's a bad movie.
The main complaint seemed to have kind of been that people felt this was a very cheesy teenager sort of idealistic view of, fate is out there and no matter what you do, it'll always come to get you. And I get that it is. And when you watch it, you can kind of see that is the concept here.
Yeah, I get this one. Like, this could have worked even if it was an adult movie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it has
By adult movie. I mean, like they could be older. Like,
yeah, it has a 68% with the audience, which I think is probably a little over. I think that's a bit high, to be honest. But
I know that these came into a lot of love when they came out because they were so original.
Exactly, and I think it is. It's the concept that pushes them up there. This idea of you escape death, but death still comes to get you.
Like I love the story for this is brilliant in terms of the way they tell it, and
it's very smart.
It's nearly his descent into madness to try and figure it out.
Yeah, and that is right. Like it starts. I love the start of it where his mom is taking the last flight tags off his thing, and he's like, "Don't
He
do that. It's good
asked her.
luck.
He
Don't do that. It's
asked
good
her.
luck. Leave that there, please. Just leave it there. It's good luck." She just takes it off. Bet
She's a dickhead. She caused all of this.
you she feels like all right dick now after that.
Fucking arsehole.
Yeah, but she removes that. I do like that when he's asleep during the night, you see his clock flash to 180, which is the flight that they're on, flight 180.
There's a couple of them. Like there's a couple of things that they do. The taxi fare
Is
that you see in the back
180.
when someone's getting out, it's 180 as well.
Yeah,
No, you don't actually see it. It's off center, but you can
Yeah.
see it. It's in enough focus that you can see it.
there's loads of little bits like that it's just to the side.
Yeah.
Like you see the number 180, but it's constantly just.
And then I think it's on
there.
one of the coffee cups where they're at the bar.
I think it's the price of the coffee
Or
is
the price of the
180,
coffee could be, yeah.
possibly, or something like that. But you see it a few times. The main character, Alex, looks awfully confused about the entire concept of the airport, though. Like he's in there looking at the board and like, what flight are we going to do? And he looks terrified of it. I was like,
Well, like when you see him talking to the ma at the start and the dad has been in a plane crash.
yeah, he has, but the guy looks whatever about being a bit off about an actual plane. He seems off about the entire airport. Not really sure about what's going on the whole time he's in there, is he?
I think he always looks like he's fucking stoned off his nut.
He looked a bit fucking questionable anyway. And then we obviously seen another little throw to what was going to happen with Claire watching reading the book about Princess Diana's crash. So
Jesus, yeah, you do forget about that.
Yeah, like the whole build up to this, they're kind of giving you a little bit of something's going to happen, something's going to happen.
Some kind of disaster.
They're feeding it to you. I do like the idea that his mate Todd is like, we got to go to the bathroom. And he's like, what? What do you mean we got to go to the bathroom? He's like, we're going to be on that plane for 6 hours or whatever.
Hours. It's not 6 hours from New York to Paris.
It's probably around that.
No, sure. It's about 8 or 9 hours from here to New York, is it not?
No, you can fly from here to New York in like 6 hours. Yeah. It depends. It's hard to tell. Like certain parts of America would only be 6 hours if you're flying into them. So it is hard to tell. But like, he's like, we're gonna be on there for 6 hours. Do you want to be going into the toilet and then you come out and one of the girls is going in and you've left it stinking? And he's like, you're right. Let's go to the bathroom.
Good thinking, really. Except I wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah, I don't think most people would, to be honest. But sure,
those bathrooms, doesn't matter if you're the first person in or the last person in, they stink.
It's gonna stink if you're the first person that goes into it anyway, so it doesn't matter. But they get on the plane anyway, and we see the whole plane crash scenario play out.
What even just before that, what a part that Sean William Scott plays in this, having played Stifler in American Pie, like the jock. He plays the little nerd in this one. You see him getting bullied at the seats.
Yeah, you do forget he's in this. Like
he's a quality actor, though.
You do forget him though. Like I completely forgot he was in this.
Yeah.
But we see the whole premonition of the plane, taking off and then catching fire and everything. But you don't even know it's a premonition. You're just like, this is just happening. Like
you're like, what the fuck? Like if you haven't seen this, and you watch this first scene, you're like, holy! They just killed a whole school full of kids.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like this is what I liked when I first went to see it. I was like, wait, hang on, this is the whole cast has just been killed off here. Like, where is this film going?
Like now it reminds you of. Do you remember Tarantino's movie Death Proof?
Yeah,
where they build that story around like 4 people and then they're just gone, and you're like, well,
yeah,
that's how this is going.
This whole thing, it was like, right, all the characters we've been introduced to so far are gone.
Yeah, that was a waste of 15 minutes of my life.
What the hell are we going to do now? And then obviously he wakes up and you're like, oh, it's a premonition. But he is freaking out on that plane. Like he is completely freaking out. And he's like, get me off this plane, get me off this plane. As I suppose you would if you just, had this daydream of the entire plane going up in flames and blown up. And he gets escorted off the plane and Todd follows him. And a couple of other people.
The 2 lads getting into a scrap.
Yeah, and then the 2 of them, your man, what's his name? Carter is the one he gets into the scrap with. So Carter and his girlfriend get carted off as well. He plays
the dick in this really well.
and then the teacher gets off with them, and then
The two teachers come off.
yeah, and then the other girl Claire follows him
Yeah,
off as
and
well.
poor Sean William Scott's late. He
Sean
gets
William Scott
dragged
is late,
off.
and he's like, "Can I not get on the plane?" And they're like, "No, no, you have to stay here now."
I felt sorry for him.
Yeah, but it's probably for the best in that sense.
Well,
Well, the thing is, he was always late for the flight, so he should have been safe anyway, because he was always late for that flight, no matter what.
yeah,
Um, but they get taken off the plane, and now the plane does take off. One of the male teacher gets back on it, and the plane takes off, and well, the catastrophe happens, and they're all kind of looking at him, being like,
you can tell they spent their budget on the premonition because the next bit's just
yeah, it just kind of blows up in the sky. Right, that's that done. Grand, lovely. Get that's that done.
like. Did you notice they over early shoot this where you see them walk into the window as
Yeah,
if the plane's already exploded,
yeah, and
and then it goes off, and you're like, oh,
yeah, but
it's like they cut the scenes in the wrong way.
yeah, they were just they put everything they had into the first scene and a couple
Yeah.
of the other ones that come later, but the rest of it they were kind of like, don't worry about the rest of that. Everyone will forget that bit anyway.
Yeah, it's quality there though.
I like that the FBI kind of show up and question all of them, and they're
Oh
like,
yeah, but it would because he's already on the plane and it said that there's
Yeah.
a bomb, or not that there's a bomb, that it's going to explode.
yeah, and they question him, and he's just like, I had a premonition, and they're just like, oh, all right, let's let these all go home. So
Well, I suppose what could you do? You know what I mean?
yeah, to be fair, he hasn't done anything, so you
Well,
can't hold him.
You can't
But,
say you can't say explosion on the plane, but this was pre 20 or
yeah, I know, but
11.
he hadn't.
He hasn't
it-
technically done it.
Well, he hadn't done
Freaked
anything
out.
anyway. He freaked out on the plane and got escorted off.
To be
Like,
honest with you, though, like you'd be hard done by like your dad was in a plane crash. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you freak out in a plane. No judge is gonna.
no, well, even if even if they're like, why did you do that? You'd be like, well, I didn't actually do anything. I freaked out.
Yeah.
That didn't cause anything to happen. Like, I just freaked out. But they all get taken home by the parents. We noticed that
Claire.
she's not taken home by her parents. She gets taken home by Alex's parents because she has no family. You're good.
Thanks for the lift.
And you're kind of like, this is some 16-year-old. Like,
See, this is what I
why
mean.
do-
This is what I mean. Like the timeline in this is a bit broke.
yeah, like, why does nobody live with this girl?
Yeah, and like she has a house and all. So
Yeah,
I think she references that the dad or the ma's away with the boyfriend or whatever.
possibly something like that. But she's just there on her own the whole
Yeah.
time from then on. But we see the funeral and we hear that Alex and Todd haven't spoken since.
Yeah, they're best
Oh,
mates as well.
Yeah, they were best mates and they haven't spoken because obviously Todd's brother stayed on the plane and
Yeah.
he passed away and whatnot. But they haven't spoken since. But all the parents are acting like Alex is,
A murder.
like that he's out there blowing up that plane, and you're like, I don't know, like it's a bit harsh, the kid freaked out on the plane, and
Mm.
he's
That picture behind you shows really he is tripping balls.
but like he freaks out, and they're just like everyone seems to be blaming him. Even the teacher seems to think he had something
He's
to do
a
with it.
weapon in this.
Yeah, and you're just like, this poor kid, like he's gone through some serious trauma here as well. Like I don't know if you should all be blaming him, but
That's some seriously shit here.
well, him and Todd just they say, listen, we'll meet up and we'll try and get things back to normal.
Yeah.
And this is when there's like a gust of wind in everybody's house, which you're kind of like, yeah, I suppose that could happen. You're sitting in your house, there could be a gust of wind. No big deal. But we see Todd in the bathroom, and I love the like blue liquid that comes
Yeah.
out of the toilet, but it like snakes its way to him, but it's using the cracks in the floor.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like,
the grout route, yeah.
you're kind of like, is it just, is it just a leak? Like that could happen because if something did leak, that's the exact path it would take.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's like a
but it's a
gel, so it's a bit weird.
Yeah, it's obviously not just water. It's a bit more clear as a bluish gel.
Yeah, like
And,
to me, it always reminds me of, if you're ever in the airport or in the airplane, when you flush the toilet, it's blue liquid that comes out.
Yeah,
It's like the
it is.
disinfectant.
Yeah, and I think that is what it's meant to kind of be,
Yeah,
but they
That-
never really reference it that much.
because you don't see it again.
No, you don't see it again. But it's quite like
This
it
is
kind
a
of
vicious death.
it kind of follows him around, and we see Alex at home and he throws the magazine into the fan and it
Yeah,
blows back it shreds it up and blows back one bit and it says Todd in it.
yeah. Like what? Like how that fan's not gonna chop the magazine
Yeah.
up?
But he freaked out and he's like, right,
Oh,
I need to get over to his house. Runs over to the house.
yeah.
But by the time he gets there,
The coroner's there.
well, the FBI, the coroner,
Yeah.
everyone's there. And as you said, this is a pretty brutal death. Like
Oh, it's
the
vicious.
the
Now
shower curtain
It
thing
is.
wrapping around his neck
It
and
is
everything
very
just
avoidable, really. Like
yeah.
he's trying to stand up at the end of the bath. Just sit on the edge.
Yeah, but the thing is that he's trying to stand up, but there's also that liquid is on the bath, which is why his feet
Oh
keep
yeah, no,
slipping
I
out
can.
from under him, you know?
Oh, I know that, but like if he sits on the edge of the bath,
He's fine, I know.
yeah,
But like at that stage, I suppose you're panicking as well.
yeah, but like
Um
watching that thing wrap around his neck, you're like, ugh.
yeah. But after that you see the liquid, rescind back into the toilet. So it's no longer there. So
He's
it looks like there was nothing to cause this issue other than him,
yeah, and
So it's
the
ruled a
only time you
suicide.
see it then is on the bath, so it looks like he's done it himself.
Yeah, so they, it gets ruled a suicide and stuff, and your unclear is like, right, come on.
No one would think any different though. You know what I mean? He's just survived a plane crash that's killed his brother.
Yeah, and Alex is like, no, he definitely didn't do that. Like he didn't, and they're like, well, what were you doing there? Now I don't know how they could blame him for this because how would he have got into the house and out of the house before anybody knew?
Yeah,
You know?
it's like they had their target line set anyway.
Yeah, they do. And your unclear gets him out. And she's like, come on, we got to get out of here.
We Audi.
So they go back and she tells them, she followed him off the plane because when she got on the plane, she had the same sort of spine chilling feeling.
She believed him.
Which not only did she believe him, but she said she didn't feel right on the plane either. She didn't have a premonition, but that she didn't feel right either.
And I don't know about you, but if someone freaked out like that when I was on the plane, I'd probably be like, well,
Yeah, if you got the other way, like sometimes you get like that chill up your spine. If you got onto a plane and you had that, like as you were sitting down, and then some lad freaked out, going, "This plane's going to crash," you'd probably be like,
I'm gonna take my chances here.
"I'll just take the next flight. Actually, it's all right. I'll just get off here. Thanks." So like that's kind of what happens here, and the two of these are kind of like they both feel like something's still after them. Neither of them feel like they've escaped.
Well, what I like about this is though you don't see anything.
No, the two of them just say it's a feeling. They're just like, I feel like something's after me.
Yeah.
And this is when they decide they're going to go to the morgue to see what the story with Todd's body is and like, did he kill himself and stuff.
This is where you get, if you're going to horror, you look for an old school horror person that talks. Like you could have Robert Englund as a face, right? He's not. You don't really know him for his voice.
Yeah.
You obviously have Kane Hodder, who's arguably the greatest slasher to ever do it. Do you know what I mean? You have Michael Myers, who's played by about 4 or 5 different people. Doesn't say anything, but the one voice you'll always remember is the Candyman's voice. And they went out and got Tony Todd, and he does the Candyman voice in it.
Yeah, and what I like is that they keep his name as Tony in the film as well.
Yeah, it's great.
It's very good, but the speech is good.
Yeah,
and he delivers it very well, but it's very tropey as well,
Oh yeah, it's set to try and chill you. And you're
he's like, death has a sadistic design, and it's going to, it comes to us all, and you don't fuck with the Grim Reaper, basically. And he basically just tells them, you've escaped death, but he's not letting you escape.
That's all part of his plan, that you've survived.
Yeah, so he's like, yous have screwed up his plan, but that means he's going to come and get you now anyway. Yeah. And from here, they start looking into,
the patterns.
All the patterns, and like Alex is obsessed. Like there's no other word for it.
I love how where he's sitting downstairs now, and then you see it comes on the plane. It's like it started under the left wing,
and he tracks where it went.
And gets the map, and he's like, "That was my seat," but then I moved.
Yeah, so he tracks out. Pattern. He figures out the pattern. So he's like, this person. He said, Todd died first. So next is going to be, the girl. Then next is going to be the teacher, and he tracks it out where each one's going to go.
Essentially, he should have died first.
Yeah, but he has himself not in his original seat at the
Yeah, yeah.
start, so
So
he
he-
thinks
he-
he's survived. So he's like, it's gone past me, and it's on to the next ones.
Yeah,
But then he
It-
realizes
I moved seats.
later on, he's like, I never actually moved seats. So the whole concept of what he had laid out was wrong.
Yeah, like it's a very good double twist in it.
Yeah,
And he's like, okay, yeah, it's this person. Oh wait, no, it's not.
but what I like is that before he even works out that bit about him not moving seats, that they go for coffee, him and then they bump into Carter and Carter's girlfriend on the, like, he's driving down the road, that knocks Sean William Scott's character Billy off his bike. You're just like, what a dick. This
Yeah,
lad's
and
just
the
knocking
teacher's
people.
there as well. And
Yeah,
they're like,
they all
here.
kind of meet up, but he sees in the window, he sees the girlfriend getting creamed out of a
Smashed.
bus, and he looks up and she's still standing there in front of him, and he kind of shakes it off. He's like, don't know what I seen there. And then she gets in the fight with Carter and goes to walk off, and sure enough gets creamed out of it by the bus.
Oh, smashed.
Yeah, and this is when he starts to realize, that he's getting an idea of what's going to happen to people, so he can prevent it.
Yeah, it's done very well. I didn't like that bit though. That he can see. All right, he had this premonition and whatever, but like that he sees what's going next.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit much,
Yeah.
and I think they rectified this
In the second one.
in the second and further ones. Like,
Yeah.
I still think that the third one of these is probably the most famous of them.
The roller coaster.
Yeah, I think everyone knows the roller coaster one more than they know any of the other ones.
Probably the death scene. Probably the most famous bit in Final Destination is obviously in 2 with the log truck.
Yeah, but that's a specific scene. But
Yeah,
I think number 3 is, if you ask most people, that's when about Final Destination, they remember the roller coaster one.
yeah,
I'm not even saying it's the best one. It just seems to be the one that most people remember.
yeah.
But they do rectify this sort of issue where it's now a thing of however you were meant to die. So, like, if you were meant to get your neck slashed, that's how you're going to die in the future as well.
I think that's what they were meant to try and do in this one, and just went wild.
Yeah, but like, there was no way she was getting hit by a bus when she was on the plane, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So there's like,
well, to me, it would have been an impact death. So something would have hit her.
Yeah, possibly.
Hit the ground.
Yeah, possibly. But she dies, and they're kind of like, right, we need to work out how to get by this. And he works out that the next death is meant to be the teacher.
Yeah.
So he goes to her house.
Gets
she
nicked.
Gets nicked because she calls the police. She's like, yeah, this weird kid who,
But she's already told him that she's afraid of him.
Yeah, she has. She completely blames him for this.
And she's leaving as well. She's packing up.
Yeah, and I mean, it's weird that she blames him, because how can you blame him? Like, he was just some kid who freaked out on a plane. But I suppose your head's not in the right place at that stage.
No.
But she gets him nicked, and things kind of seem okay. He gets taken off by the FBI, and they're like, what are you doing? You predicted the plane crash. You're at your mate Todd's house. You were there when this other girl got killed. Like, what's going on? And you're like, yeah, but all of those, like, if
he hasn't done anything.
But like, he showed up to his friend Todd's house after he was dead. This girl got hit by a bus. He just happened to be there. Like, none of this can be his. He just happens to be there. Like, how can you think?
Technically, her death is her boyfriend's fault.
Sort of, yeah. But you know what I mean? Like,
he had just kept on driving.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, they're looking at him and they're like, "You're at all of these deaths." And it's like, yeah, I am. But how would I make a bus hit her? How would I make him do that? Like, how would I do any of these things that you're saying I'm doing? So they eventually let him go. They're like, he's right though. They're like, they're all coincidences, and he just kind of happens to be. There's nothing we can do. So they let him go, and he rushes back to the teacher's house. I think this death is quite.
Oh, this is vicious. Like the suicide, whatever you want to call it, saying is bad, but this is worse.
But I like how this one kind of builds up. You see her pass by the knives, and you're like, oh, is it going to be something with the knives? And then it's not, and you're like, oh, and then it's going to be this, and then it's not, and you're like, there's so many little things happening, and it just builds and builds and builds.
Yeah.
And then she looks at the then she looks at the computer and it's smoking, and she looks down. Now, I don't know why she tries to what she thinks she's going to do by looking at the computer that's smoking, but it just blows up and the shard just shoots into her neck. And
It's bad, isn't it?
the amount of blood that's coming out of her, and then it obviously sets on fire as well. And the fire follows her blood.
Yeah, well, it's following the drink, isn't it? She spills a drink.
Yeah, it follows the drink to where she is.
Yeah, because the cup is cracked.
Yeah.
So it's dropping vodka all along the way.
Yeah, so it follows that, and then she gets in there and she grabs the towel, but the towel drops the knives all onto her. But all of this happens just as Alex shows up. Like he gets to the house and he sees all this, and the house is on fire and everything. Yeah, and he gets in there, and then he runs out and he runs straight into your man Billy on the bike.
What's the worst? She's still alive, and the chair falls and pushes the knife the rest of the way.
Yeah, just as he gets there.
Yeah.
And this all builds to the death sadistic design, like it's making sure he sees it. Yeah, so he walks out of the house, he runs out of the house and smashes straight into poor Billy again.
On the bike poor lad. Again.
Poor lad getting battered out of it.
You have to wonder why he's there again. I know it's designed that
he could live around there or whatever,
I love how when he's in the house you see the imprint of his runner.
Yeah.
Left completely in her blood.
Yeah, so that the police can pin it on him.
Also put his hand on the knife.
Yeah, because he tried to remove it, which is a bad idea anyway. You should never do that anyway. But he smashes into Billy, and then he knows that this is going to be pinned on him, so he just runs.
Yeah, he's got on the lam now.
Yeah, Billy obviously rings the police, and he's like,
"Well, the house explodes."
Yeah, and Billy's there, and he's like, "Yeah, I saw Alex run out."
Snitches get stitches around here.
Yeah, but they eventually he gets hidden out up in this cabin.
It's her dad's cabin or something.
Her dad's old cabin, but he's worked out the design and he knows that he's next. He's like, I'm next. Like
I'm gonna beat the design. Yeah.
He's like, he hasn't worked out yet. He's up in the cabin and he's working out who's meant to be next here.
Yeah, and then he baby proofs it.
He baby proofs it, and he puts on rubber gloves, and he's opening the tin of beans and stuff like that. Like he makes everything he's very careful with until the thing kind of falls in the closet and nearly kills him, and he's like, "Oh, rusty nail nearly got me."
Yeah.
But he's completely lost it here.
Tank, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's completely lost it here. Like he's completely out of his mind. But this is when he meets up with Carter and Billy and Claire, and they're out in the car trying to
the cops come first. The cops have figured out that he's there, and he runs through the forest.
No, that's when he's on the way to her house.
Oh yeah, sorry, it is, yeah.
No, so this at this time the four of them meet up, and Carter just decides, he's like, so what? If I'm gonna decide when I die, I'm gonna decide. So brings them out to that train tracks and has them,
Yeah, this is where you see the next scene that he can foresee how to get out.
Yeah, and he's like, right. He knows. He's like, Carter's the next one. Carter's the next one to.
But he never answers him.
No.
He's like, by not answering me, you're telling me it's me.
Yeah. So he stops the car on the train tracks, and the three of them manage to get out, but they have to climb out the windows and stuff. And they're like, "Come on, come on!"
He wasn't getting out.
He said, "No, I've made my decision." And then, kind of at the last second, he's like, "No, I do want to get out. Actually, this is insane."
And then he's like, "You're trying to start the car won't start." The usual.
So, yeah, Alex runs in and just about saves him.
He knows how it's going to happen too.
Yeah, he just about saves him, and they're like, "Oh, we beat it. That's we've got past you. You're no longer the next victim."
Like as much as I said, I didn't like the whole seeing how to save them. The one where you see him doing this one, he's like, it looks like it's his belt.
Yeah,
it has to break, and you're like, oh, sneaky. They make it look like he's survived his one.
Yeah, so that he gets him out, and they're like, right, he saved this, and then we see the next death like instantaneously, and like normally, when you see someone getting like decapitated, it's from the neck and the whole head is gone. This one is rough because it's straight through the center of his face. You're like, whoa.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, like that is rough. Poor Sean William Scott. Good luck
one
to
of the
him.
only other times I've seen that is in Wrong Turn.
Yeah.
Where the hillbilly slashes her with the hatchet, but he gets her here.
Yeah, you see it in some, like old action films with like swords and stuff. You'd see it, but it is rare.
Yeah, and it's done very well.
It always hits harder than a full decapitation as well, like because
Yeah.
it's like you can see it straight through their head, and
Oh,
you're just
what
like,
other one
oh,
was it? There's a couple of ones like 13 Ghosts has a really good one, but it's a decap, but it's sliced in half.
yeah, it's in the center that rather
Yeah,
than yeah,
and you see his brain, and you're like,
yeah,
but like the one I'd say it'd be worse if it was kind of like this one's clean cut straight. Imagine
yeah,
it being cut up.
yeah. It's a rough one
Yeah.
anyway. But
Whereas he's like, I'm not hanging around with you guys
yeah, I'm
anymore.
sick of you guys, and that's the end of him. He's right. He's not hanging around with them
I
anymore.
always used to think it was a chain that for as long as I hadn't seen it in, I always used to think it was a chain on the bottom of the train that done it, but it
No,
picks up a bit of metal along the way,
yeah, and just flings it out with him.
yeah,
Yeah,
and he's just
but
you just
this is
leave him in a ditch.
what else are you gonna do with it? You have to run. Like the police already think it's him doing it anyway. So
Yeah,
this is when he goes to hide out. Sorry, this is when he goes to hide out because it's after that death, and this is when he's like, the next death is me, and then after me is Claire, and he's just sitting there, and he's like, right, I need to hide out, and he's been really really safe, and this is when he discovers. Sorry, this is when he discovered. Hang on, I never actually moved. See, he remembers that he never moved. See, because in all his other predictions, he had him sitting beside Todd, but he
yeah.
was because he follows the gas line explosion, and he's like, no, hang on, I never switched. I was always at the back of the plane rather than in front of her because I fell asleep and didn't actually switch. And he's like, I'm not next.
She's next.
She's next. So this is when he goes
Do you
sprinting
know
through the
the
woods,
worst thing here is, right? So the FBI are
chasing him
suspicious of
down.
him, right? They're suspicious of him over the plane crash and whatnot. On the news, they've said that the plane crash was caused by an electrical fault in the gas line.
Yeah.
Right. So why would he be still a person of interest?
But it's because he's been at all of the other subsequent death
No,
scenes.
yeah,
And
but like
then especially
no,
the teachers one.
yeah, the teachers one, okay, that's fine. But like the suicide is impossible for him to be there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
The girl getting hit by the bus, yeah, it's not his fault. But the teacher's one, I think, is the real one because his hand
Yeah.
is on the knife and,
But then
his
again, the FBI
bloody
aren't gonna
footprint.
come out over one.
No, but it's because, there's been.
Yeah, I know it's they're trying to link it into the
Yeah,
story.
you are right that in reality they wouldn't be getting involved in this, but they're,
They do mention that in this though. They said the FBI don't show up to suicides.
yeah. So what are you doing here? So like, they're clearly still suspicious of him of having some sort of inside knowledge of the plane anyway.
Yeah.
But this is when he's hiding out in the cabin, and he makes a sprint towards her house, and by the time he gets to her house, it's a shit show. Death has destroyed it.
This is real bad. Like she knows that like the odds that something's going to try and get it, right?
Yeah.
You leave that dog out there.
No, you don't. That poor little pooch.
They're not gonna touch the dog. The dog wasn't on the plane.
No, but the dog is like, the water spilled over and there's an electric cable spinning around. You'd be
The
the
dog.
dog.
The dog was the bait.
Yeah, I know it was, but you would be like, the poor little pooch. Like, I don't want to happen to him. So she goes out to try and save him, and that doesn't work. And then she gets in the car, and we see, the oil has the oil has like sliced along underneath the car, and that's how it's going to happen. Yeah, it looks so good.
It's done like the toilet was.
Yeah, exactly. It's done. It's exactly the same way. It's along little cracks and stuff in the ground, and it gets under. And it looks like, there's no way she's escaping this. And that's when Billy manages to get there just in the nick of time. And he takes the shock.
Yeah, it's like, I can survive it.
Well, he's like, he kind of says, even if I don't survive, it means it's bypassed you, so you'll survive it at least.
Yeah, the pattern again. Yeah.
He knows this will break the pattern. And he knows he's meant to be the final one. So he's like, this will end the pattern. So it stops with me. So he, and you think he's dead because it cuts away, and you're just like, oh.
Yeah, but like the worst thing here is like, this has all happened over a 2-month period or whatever. I think they said from the accident to when this all starts.
Yeah.
And like they've known each other for a while, but like the two of them have only become close over sort of 3 days, and she's like, "Oh baby."
yeah, they
They
fairly
fall
rush
in
this.
love.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
they
fairly rush it, but I suppose it's kind of the idea of, trauma can bring people together sort of thing is, I guess, what they were going for here. It is a bit
yeah,
rushed though, yeah. But he makes the ultimate sacrifice, and I like when I first watched this, I thought this is where it was over.
yeah.
He dies, and you're like, that's the end of it, and then it cuts to him, her, and Carter getting on a plane, and you're like, wait, hang on, I thought this lad died. What's going on here?
How good would that have been if it had been just the start of it again?
Yeah, it just it just returned all the way to the beginning. He was like, oh, for God's sake.
Oh, here we
Um,
go again.
but they get on the plane and they go off to France like they're meant to. So the
Was it
three of
6 months later, 9 months
yeah,
later, or something?
he somehow survived this electric shock that he should have killed him.
I wonder, are they trying to play it off that he was grounded? That's why.
I don't know, but he's survived anyway.
Yeah.
They go off on this holiday and everything seems to be kind of going well. And they're kind of joking and talking about it. And Carter kind of makes the joke. He's like, well, either way, I'm safe because one of you is next, not me.
Yeah, why would you make that joke?
But he makes that joke. And then we hear the guy in the background singing a song, which has happened. It's the same song, but it's been sung in a different language here.
Yeah,
But it's the same song he keeps hearing over and over again every time
this is another horror trope. The music,
Yeah.
the same song.
Yeah.
It's like the Jaws, the Halloween, the Jeepers Creepers one.
Except he can hear it this time. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Which I
We all
think
know,
was
yeah.
which was a good little, because
Yeah.
as the audience you can hear it, so but in this
Oh,
one
yeah,
he
here
can
we
hear it.
go.
In this one he can hear it, so it's like he freaks out. He's like, oh shit.
I'm going back to the room. You stay here.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going back to the room. I'm going back to the room. I'm going back to the room.
To me, I always thought that he's next.
Yeah.
And he's going back to save them.
That's what I got it as. He was like, it ends with me. So it obviously didn't end. So I'm gonna force it to skip them again.
And take it himself.
But I'll actually take it myself. And he nearly does, because he nearly walks out in front of that bus and she saves him.
Was it the fire engine, was it? Oh no, was it the bus? Yeah, bus.
I don't know what it is. It's a bus or a truck or something big.
Yeah.
And he nearly steps out and she calls his name. He turns around and just misses him.
Whizzes by him, yeah.
Yeah. And
that scene's done very well. Like, I don't know whether that's actually him standing that close to something flying by.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
The wind and all this.
They do it very well. And then he's kind of like, oh, I survived. But then you see this big metal sign swing it down at him. Carter rushes over and saves him.
Yeah,
and he's like,
it's smushing the mush.
Well, Carter saves him, then he turns around to him and he's like, well, that's it. Now I've saved your life. We're even.
Bang.
And then he's kind of like, wait, who does that mean is next?
It just swings the other way.
Alex just looks up at him and you just see the metal poles and stuff just swinging down at him. And you don't see it hit him, but like, that is going to cripple that lad out of it now. He's got 90.
Alex could be a dickhead here, could be a good lad here. And
kick him in the shins. Kick him in the shins or something.
Kicking the bollocks.
Yeah, he could, but I don't think he does.
No. It's that you have to watch the second one to see that.
Yeah, it kind of ends here before it hits him, but like, it's hitting him as well.
Good music as well in this.
Yeah, it is. It's very good. Yeah, very good. And like, it ends with the two kind of main characters still alive.
Yeah.
Which is, fairly, like, the two main character love interests still alive.
It's not so much a common one. Like, leaving her alive is fine. The final girl whole thing. Usually the love interest gets taken out.
One of the love interests gets taken out, all right, yeah. Which is what you expect. So they kind of go the opposite way here, but they still leave more than...
Technically, they did follow the rules in a way. Like, they killed off the couple.
Yeah, but they do keep the two... They still keep two alive, so it's not just one person.
Yeah.
Which tends to be the way, there's always kind of two people left.
There's not many horror where there's a few that survive.
Yeah, but there's always kind of two. You might not get 4 or 5, but you'll get 2 that kind of make it out.
Yeah.
Which I think was quite good, and it led on to a series that was relatively good. I think the 2 of these only appear in the second one, and then the third one just kind of goes off completely on its own.
Yeah, they just run off different events.
The fourth is just a different one. The fifth is just a different one.
Yeah, I don't even think they're in the second one for that long. I think it's just the opening scenes.
I think she's in the second one for quite a bit. I don't know that he is. I can't
But
remember if he
she
is.
was like I've said on obviously on this and on this lab a few times about like people whose name like a female that's kind of looked at being the next big thing for horror.
She looked
She
to be
was
it.
she was Alilard looked to be it. Like she's not the single best looking girl you'll ever see in your life, but she's one you could believe could have been
Well, she
a
she
final
looked
girl.
she looked to be setting up to be a big
Yeah,
name in it, and then
haven't
kind of
haven't
stepped away from it.
haven't done the likes of this, and obviously she's in House on Haunted Hill, which is another previous episode we've done.
Yeah.
And things like that. But like she went on, and obviously it varies between people, but no one has really stuck it. Like even Jamie Lee Curtis didn't stick to it. Do you know what I mean?
No,
Um,
you don't need to stick to it entirely, but
yeah, like
some of them
she
have
went
just kind
away
of,
from it for 30 years or whatever.
yeah, some of them step away, but then never get cast in anything else really again. Sort of
Yeah,
is probably the issue some of them find that they just don't end up getting cast in anything then.
yeah. See, horror's that genre of movies in Hollywood, isn't it? Where
Yeah, it's hard to break away
once you're
from
a
it.
name in it, that's you're gonna get cast into it and into it.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to
Hold on,
break away from it.
you were in that shit horror movie. I'm not casting you in my Hollywood movie.
Yeah, and it is tough for them, but hope like it didn't work out here. But there's a few decent horror films coming out now, and hopefully we see the cast kick
Yeah,
on from them.
so
That stigma seems to have gone now at this point.
you'll have to check us out in about 10 years to rectify them.
We'll have to come back and look at that. And
Yeah.
uh, as we said at the start, not a great film. It doesn't stand up incredibly well. The acting isn't great.
Well, ideally, this wasn't even our pick. Thanks for that, Trish. You bailed on us about 40 times, so we said,
But
"Fuck it, we'll do it anyway."
yeah, it's not like I do like this series of films. This is kind of my wrong turn.
They're entertained, yeah. Like as I said, Wrong Turn for me is one like they're not great movies. The first one's
Yeah,
great. They progressively, well, actually get worse and then get better.
yeah.
But like I enjoyed them.
No, but that's the thing. Like these are kind of my wrong turn. They're not particularly great, but I enjoy the concept of it.
Yeah,
And you're just kind of like, okay, how's it gonna come back and get them this time? How's it gonna get them this time?
but like that's the thing with movies. You like it, I don't.
Yeah.
Simple. It's,
I
I can't tell you you're wrong
yeah.
for liking it.
I don't think that the critic score is overly unfair. I wouldn't be saying, oh no, that should be up in the 60s or 70s. I think the audience score is a little high. I think people like it because of the idea of it, the same way I do.
Yeah.
But in terms of actual acting ability,
Oh, it's dreadful.
wasn't great. A lot of the camera scenes, not great. The continuity of it, not great. As you said, like there's times where, hang on, she's meant to be 16, but she lives in a house on her own, and they're always going in and buying liquor in shops. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't really tie up correctly together in this.
Yeah, it's a strange one. Like everything's kind of rushed as well. Like the story, his and her love story is.
Well, I mean, nothing happens for 2 months to any of them,
Yeah.
and then
he kind of goes off on one. I was like,
well, then they all meet up for this funeral 2 months later, which is quite a long time as well. I suppose there's an FBI investigation, so maybe that's why they meet up for this 2 months later.
Was it the funeral or was it not just a
memorial thing?
Yeah,
it might have been a memorial thing, but like either way, they meet up 2 months later, and then it all goes to shit again, and you're kind of like, well, why wasn't he after you for the last 2 months?
Because Death's Design showed the news to show him like he was asleep, and then he sees it on the news.
Yeah,
the plan. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's gonna fucking figure out that this person's next or that person's next.
Yeah, I like the idea of it, and I think it's a fine film to watch. It's easy to sit down and watch, but as like I wouldn't be telling anybody to rush out and see it either. I wouldn't be, it's deadly. Like
if you want to put something on in the background at a party or whatever, grand. Yeah, you want to watch a horror movie with a lot of people there, and you're not going to pay too much attention. Fine.
There's not much of a plot line. They are meant to die. They didn't die. They do die.
Yeah,
pretty much it.
You know what I mean? Like it's different if you're watching the likes of a Halloween or something when you have to follow it.
Yeah,
a little bit more, and you're like, oh well, them people are talking. I missed what they said.
Yeah, like nothing is overly important here, and even like as we said, the speech from Tony is
that's the only bit you really need to hear.
I think that speech is done. He does it very well, but the speech itself isn't even that great. The actual content of it isn't great. His delivery is brilliant.
His delivery of any
he's very creepy. He's very creepy, but not like, oh, I think he could be involved in this somehow. But creepy as in he believes what he's saying, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But also, what he actually says is just kind of very meh. Like, as I said, a lot of people said it was very cheesy, you know, oh, you'll never escape fate, sort of thing. And that is kind of what the story is. And I can understand why people don't like that. But
Ah,
it's not a fantastic horror film by any stretch of the imagination, but it's enjoyable.
if you enjoy it, it's a good film. You know what I mean?
If you haven't seen it, you know, it is worth a watch, but it's not. It's
It
not
may be
incredible.
worth a watch if it's on the telly. It is kind of more awkward to find.
Yeah, I wouldn't be going out of my way to go and buy it or anything now either.
I have them all somewhere.
I have them. That's how I rewatched it. But yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be going out of my way to.
But like, it's not on any of the streaming sites. Like you can find them on certain ones, but
They pop up and down here and there. But like, I wouldn't be. You know, if you never see this, it's not going to be a bit. You're not going to be missing a whole lot, really, either.
you might be a little bit confused at the start of 2, but that's about it for about 5 minutes.
Even if you never watched any of these, you know, it's not like, oh, you've never seen Nightmare on Elm Street, which is a big one. You know, it's not like that. No one's going to be like, oh, you've never seen that. They'd just be like, it's worth a watch. You know, it's something. It's grand.
Like, there's certain horror movies that like if you'd need to see.
Yeah.
The likes of Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween, Texas Chainsaw, Silence of the Lambs, things like that. There's ones that fall into like this, into the category of if you see it, you've seen it.
Yeah, if you haven't,
like this for me would probably be a low B, maybe a C rated.
Yeah, that's probably relatively fair. All right, yeah.
And then again, there's not many that will reach any higher than a B nowadays.
Yeah, it's quite few and far between, but
that's looking a bit better nowadays. But
yeah,
the next little while, but sure, we'll have to wait and see.
That's the thing. You always have to wait and see. They always look good in the trailers, and then who knows what you're going to actually get.
Fate is going to deal us a cruel blow here and give us a whole pile of shy.
It could be. But that's it for this week. And we'll have one more next week. It's another old classic. We won't tell you just yet what it is, but we will tell you that it's not one of the big horrors either. It's an old classic, and it sticks with our line of, you know, Halloween films, but not particularly
this one was different. As I said, it was picked by someone else who didn't show.
Yeah. This one, even this one, is not a massive horror either. Do you know?
This is more just flashy.
Yeah, this is more of a bit of a thriller sort of thing. But that's it for this week. So good luck.